Welcome to After the Apocalypse. The world ended 15 years ago, but we're still here. My name is Cass, and this is episode 8, Thrive. The past 15 years, most of us have focused more on finding food, shelter, and safety, and outrunning the hordes of the undead, but Thrive focuses on preserving something wholly different, the arts. The question at the heart of today's show is this: is Thrive worth the risk and the resources? Or are their efforts better spent on protecting Stone Hill? Fiona Woods was an English teacher before the apocalypse and now puts her skills to use curating a library for the Stone Hill community.
So I have actually been living in Stone Hill for 9 years. I was in the very first group of people to come here and been able to make a sort of community here.
Dean Anderson is one of the most respected members of the community, as she is single-handedly responsible for much of the electricity that you currently benefit from today.
I've been here for almost 3 years, I think. I had a community for a while early on, much smaller than Stonehill. That lasted for a while, but it did eventually fall. Then I found Stonehill, and it's way better. When I first got here, there was some basic wiring set up, but not in a very safe way. And so improving the wiring here, expanding so that more people can have access to electricity has been a big part of what I did in the beginning. And still, I do that now.
Zane Graham was actually among the naysayers who thought that Thrive was a waste of resources.
So I've been at Stonehill for about 5 years now. Initially, when Thrive was pitching the idea of preserving the arts and everything, I thought, what kind of bullshit is this? It started off in kind of my own old hometown, but eventually I started to move away because I realized there just wasn't much left for me, and also marauders and a lot of the undead were starting to kind of congregate, and I needed to get out. The brightest light in that was Harrison. This man in rags carrying just a bunch of papers on his back asked if he could join me, but he's no longer here with us.
It was hard. There were a lot of people that I met over the years that didn't last very long. Becoming connected to anyone sort of got harder as time went on.
And then I actually was inspired by Harrison's newspapers. To everyone else, they were just pieces of paper. But to him, they told a story.
Do you know there have been kids who have been born in the last 9 years, and being able to just bring them to the library, teach them how to read, how to write, and be able to tell their own stories?
I just want the kids here to experience something close to a childhood like we got. I've had a few different projects for Thrive. I just finished restoring an old piano, and I'm working on soundproofing a space so that we can have a band, which is really exciting. It's just a really wonderful way to connect people and for people to express themselves. It communicates on a more fundamental level than language does.
I've collected a lot of really interesting books over the years. The complete works of William Shakespeare, a lot of Jane Austen, Oscar Wilde. I did find a collection of Robert Frost poems that I almost died trying to get. I don't regret it.
Oh, well, I am a tattoo artist, so I have the great privilege of creating long-lasting art on folks' bodies. Over time, I started working with folks who maybe wanted to cover up a few scars. I help them find and turn their pain into everlasting beauty.
I also was able to scrounge up some materials to make a mini golf course. That was one of my earlier projects that I'm still really proud of. I definitely had to get creative, but I was able to raid a country club at one point, and so that's where the balls and golf clubs came from. Some people think I took too big of a risk, but it's been here for over a year, and I've seen how many people have used it and how it brightens people's lives here.
Folks who are here pre-apocalypse, who knew what life was like. We like to give them the moon sign. Now, for folks who were born post-apocalypse, hopefully the future that will take us into a brighter tomorrow, they get the sun. If you ever see people talk about the initials or the letters on their spines or their backs, traditionally the spines, it usually is used to remember folks that they have lost. I myself have the initial of Harrison on the back of my spine, at the very top right here.
I think the majority of the community is super supportive of everything we do, but yeah, there are definitely people who see things that are not strict necessities for survival as frivolous and a waste of time and energy.
We've lost a few folks on supply runs. Unfortunately, I hate to say it kind of comes with the job, but when you sign up for these supply runs, you have to understand the risks.
The people in the community who, aren't as supportive of Thrive or think it's frivolous, they really appreciate all the work I've done for the electricity here and the defenses, but that's not the work I'm most proud of.
Non-essential is relative. I think everyone has a right to decide what's worth risking their life for.
Thrive is also working on a variety of new projects to get excited about.
Something I've been wanting to do for a while is start a mural project, just making the space a little bit livelier with some murals. I think would go a long way.
Now we're still kind of in the early phases. We're pitching some ideas. I'm mentioning maybe a mural to remember those we have lost.
Oh, well, the one I'm working on right now is a book club. We don't have a lot of copies of most of our books, but having sort of a system of borrowing and passing it on.
Everyone in Thrive, in addition to the sun and the moon, we are putting a phrase on their body.
So the motto of Thrive is, "Do not go gentle." And it was taken from the poem, "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night" by Thomas Dillon. It basically means don't just give up and go into death willingly.
I like to think that Do Not Go Gentle is a way of telling a survivor's story. We will continue to live on, so do not go gentle.
We hoped you enjoyed this episode of After the Apocalypse. Join us next week for episode 9, Hunting, Gathering, and Not Dying. Until then, good night, sleep tight, and don't let the zombies bite.